thank you for joining me today on stage. 1-800-Flowers is such a great brand. We're going to get to that in a second because before you made it to 1-800-Flowers, you were at Publishers Clearinghouse. Yes. So are you the person that I blame for not winning?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so the question I always get from Publishers Clearinghouse, is it real? And yes, 100% real. We do have real winners, and it is real cash and real money that they're giving away. So I spent a long time there kind of building out their gaming and media side of their business. So they've actually transformed themselves into the 6th largest game publisher in the country, believe it or not. So there's a lot of people playing Minute Mahjong, Spider Solitaire, those types of games. So turned that gaming division and paralleled it with an entertainment division and a media company on top of that. So it's come a long way since the grandmother's Publishers Clearinghouse, for sure.
Yeah, pretty amazing. And so you make the switch, and it's been almost a year now that you've been with 1-800-Flowers, right?
Give or take, 7 months, yeah.
So, and we're in a new year. I asked this question yesterday. Yeah. Any New Year's resolutions, personally, professionally, from a marketing perspective, anything that you're looking forward to this year and working on?
Definitely looking forward to getting some sleep. So I have 2 teenage daughters, 17 and 14. So going through the pandemic time period with 2 teenage girls was pretty rough. But just happy to get back into the swing of things at work. Where, as most of you, I'm sure, how many people are going in 3 times a week to the office physically? Less than 3? More than 3? All right, there you go. So we're still on the 3-2 hybrid approach. So getting back into that swing of things, being in the office, and establishing those in-office relationships and that dynamic. So I'm excited about.
Love it. So Publishers Clearinghouse, now at 1-800-Flowers. Got a big data CRM background. So data, obviously, a huge component of what's going on today in digital, specifically with privacy legislation and everything that's happening, the importance of first-party data. So talk to me about what you guys are doing, how you're really navigating this landscape, and how important it is to you.
Definitely. Yeah, so the interesting thing about 1-800-Flowers, so I don't want to jump ahead about what we do and who we are, but the point around data is we actually have a unique opportunity where not only do we have the buyer, but then we have the recipients, because it's primarily a gift-giving company. So when we collect data or we get data from a transaction, it's actually twofold versus just a retail transaction is typically the individual buyer. So for us, it's about building and growing relationships. So a lot of what Kim was saying will echo here, but we need to get that recipient data, understand the motivations for the consumer, and then start to build value in their life. So, reminder programs. Hey, did you realize it was your anniversary next week? This is what you ordered last year. Here's a variation of that so you don't look like you didn't put any thought into it this year around and get something new. So reminder programs and, again, adding value through our data.
Yeah, you have saved my marriage on a number of occasions, so thank you for those reminders.
You're welcome.
So that's great. I think what people don't realize, the general public, is that 1-800-Flowers has a multitude of brands. And has made some pretty interesting acquisitions lately. So, just elaborate. Tell the people who you represent.
Who are we? Yeah. Awesome. So I think you can break up 1-800-Flowers into 3 main groups. The first group is the food group, anchored by Harry and David. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with that brand, but a great brand. It's been around for a very long time. We have some up-and-coming brands, Cheryl's Cookies. If you have not tried Cheryl's Cookies, please do. And then I apologize for introducing you to that brand. We have the Popcorn Factory. And who else is on the food side that's good? Wolferman's Bakery, which is another heritage brand that does really well for us. So that's the food group. And then we have the floral group. You guys are familiar with 1-800-Flowers. But we also have a company called Sherry's Berries. And we have a couple other brands, Simply Chocolate. Jim McCann, who is our founder, he started with one floral shop here in the city back in 1976 and now grew it to this 15-brand sort of empire. But his vision of the floral group is if you walked into a flower shop and it had unlimited space, what would be in it? So you would see chocolate dipped strawberries, you would see plants, so we have plants.com, we have flowers. So that's our floral group, and then we have our personalization group. So we have Personalization Mall, which again, if you haven't tried that or taken a look at that brand, please do. Unfortunately, my wife was introduced to that brand over the holiday, so from stamps to holiday ornaments to personalized photos. Each of my daughters got blankets with their photos, their soccer photos on it. Like, oh my God. This is the first company I've worked in where I'm actually losing money money by being here. It's really awful. But personalization model, and then we just acquired Things Remembered last week. And Things Remembered, again, has been a brand, has really high awareness, been around for a long time, made its fame a little bit more around wedding gifts and other large special occasions.
My Mother's Day gifts.
Yeah, there you go. So it's going to be a good complement to personalization mall in our personalized group. So it's a very large portfolio, and again, really looking at specialty gifting and to really support the fact that we want to build and grow relationships, to help our customers grow relationships, and thoughtful gifting is a way to do that. So that's
I'll tell you what not to order is I had custom gift wrap made of pictures of my wife that were not very good. She was not a fan.
That was a big seller, by the way, the personalized gift wrap.
Yes,
This
thus
year.
the follow-up flowers, which saved the day.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's great.
That's part of our CRM strategy. That's what's great.
It should be the doghouse brand.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotcha. So you mentioned Jim. So Jim and Chris, obviously very involved in the business.
Yep.
I get their periodic emails.
Yep.
It's a very interesting business because you are really in a very special mindset with the givers and the receivers. It's a really warm and fuzzy place. So during the pandemic, you guys exploded. People really became present to what's important in life, and that's each other, right? So now that we're kind of climbing out of that, what kind of behavior changes? What are you seeing in the market, and how are you guys reacting to those changes?
Yeah, definitely. I think we have a couple core tenets, and the main one, and when people say, why are we here? Why are we working here? Because I get why a lot. With 2 kids, you get the question why. The ultimate answer for us is because relationships matter. That's the why. And everything we do is framed around that. So during the pandemic, you're right, that idea of a thoughtful gift, even a kind gesture. I mean, the spectrum, and Jim and Chris speak about this, you don't have to spend money to show somebody you care. It could be as simple as a text message, or we have e-cards that are free on our site, or we're partnering with Spotify to try and do playlists that are free that you can send to somebody, hey, thinking of you with these songs. So that spectrum of how you grow and maintain your relationships is just core for what we do. Coming out of the pandemic, that's not going to change. I think for us as a strategy, it's not just about buying product. So if you want to just buy something, you go to Amazon. That's not who we want to be. So for instance, we have value adds. You are sending a sympathy gift, but you have no idea what to write in that card. So we have content, and our editorial team works on different scenarios for the consumer to say, here are some words that you can use to help to express yourself. So when you connect and express, you need advice in many of your relationships, and we're here to provide that. So the gift is, it can come, it cannot come, but we're going to add value in that way for our consumers.
Yeah, I love that because, oftentimes people don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to send that's appropriate. So, that guidance, that direction is really fantastic. And I love that you mentioned something like Spotify. So, 1-800-Flowers, you think of flowers and sending gifts. Historically, it's kind of an older demographic that's used to that in-person or physical touch of something. So, we've got this new generation, and we talked about it yesterday. It's so hard to keep their attention. Right. So how are you looking at building customer acquisition and loyalty with some of the younger generations? Yeah,
definitely. So we do, again, we run the gamut of our product, and also we have marketplaces too. So our 1-800-Flowers marketplace called Gifts and More, we have about 250 to 300 vendors plugged in, so you can get all your gift-giving shopping, and that appeals to a younger demographic and an older demographic. But again, ultimately, we need to provide tools and recommendations for any customer under any situation that provides value over and above buying product. So I think from a younger consumer perspective, again, it could be more micro connections, so they want what we call front of funnel tools to keep their relationships connected and maybe give, like I said, reminders or easy access to an address book or understanding what they sent last week or the week before. So for us, it's about understanding the consumer, keeping a pulse on them through surveys and through constant feedback loops, and I think that's probably another important takeaway from the pandemic. Life can change very quickly. So when you want to translate those changes into how your consumer is reacting, you have to keep a pulse on what they're saying and what they're feeling. You can't just guess. We're not sitting around in a room trying to figure out what our customer wants or what they're looking for. We have this constant feedback loop. And again, old school is focus groups, but now you do quick usability studies. You can just go online. You can get user feedback either verbally or through their actions as they're testing certain products and features. But you got to keep that feedback loop coming, and that's just as true for the younger audience as the older audience.
Yeah, and you know, this on social media, there is obviously this sense of FOMO, right? Everybody's posting, here's how great my life is, here's how wonderful it is. And I have seen a plethora of people posting, hey, look at these beautiful flowers I was sent. Look at this gift that I was sent. So talk to me about kind of the peripheral, I don't want to call it damage, but the influence that has on people, word of mouth kind of advertising, social, how that plays into your planning.
Yep, definitely. So congratulations on using plethora
today.
I think that was, I don't know if you win anything for that, but congratulations. But yeah, word of mouth, I mean, again, it's, you know, not to repeat probably what you've heard in many conferences, but obviously the more that we get out there and the more that social media can amplify the fact that our message, again, is around relationships. Not to keep going back, but that's what it is. It's not about necessarily the gift, but it's about the reaction the recipient received when getting that gift. Was it the right gift at the right time? And I think the FOMO for us is people, our customers fear getting the wrong gift. Or to your point, saying the wrong thing. But when they start to see in social media the reactions of certain gifts, they say, oh, I want that reaction. Because another tenet for us, so I mentioned before, you know, because relationships matter, but giving is the gift is another core tenet. So people want to give. I mean, this goes back to the dawn of time. It's innate in all of us to want to give. And we feel good when we give, but we do have a fear of not giving the right thing. So social media, influence, et cetera, they all help you know, quell that fear, if you will, and give people confidence that, you know, these gestures, these gifts are going to be received in a proper way.
I love it. And for the record, plethora, my 16-year-old studying for his SATs. So
all right, awesome.
Word of the day.
That's good. I'm looking forward to the rest of the
Yes, yeah. I'll pull a couple of others out. So as you look at all of these different brands, and there are so many different ways to engage with consumers today, if you were to nail down a focus for this year, where you're really concentrating efforts and putting big bets, where would that be?
Yeah, definitely. And again, to echo Kim a little bit, content and storytelling. I think you're going to see a common theme here. You need to connect with your consumer in a deeper way. And storytelling and content is the way to go with that. So that's going to be a major focus. We had just bought a company called Alice's Table, which is an experience company, and basically they're online workshops and classes on how to arrange the perfect bouquet, or how to create a charcuterie board with our Harry and David product, how to host and entertain in different ways. So, you know, combining these digital workshops and experiences with tangible product is something I'm really excited to push forward and pioneer.
Yeah, it ties back to your days with Martha Stewart.
There you go, Martha. That's right. She's an OG from an experience standpoint.
She really
so
is,
great,
and I think they had a Snoop Dogg party, and they're best friends. So there's a good connection there.
Exactly.
All right, cool. So listen, last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was CES in Las Vegas. We're now at NRF, evolution of retail. What are the things that have you most excited? What are the new things on the horizon that you're really thinking about, you know, scaling?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I'm definitely a technology geek, so I'm excited about the new technologies, but I'm also concerned that you start to get disconnected from the consumer. So I'm more excited about technologies and opportunities to connect deeper with the consumer, get those consistent feedback loops, being able to create prototypes in so MVPs is probably a term that I throw around a lot, create those MVPs, get into market, get learning in that faster feedback loop, because that spurs innovation. You know, back in my J. Crew, Martha Stewart days, which I won't tell you the years that was, but there was, to launch a concept, you're talking about a year plus process. That is no longer the case. With modern technology and the ability to get these prototypes out, you know, within a month and a half, you can have something live and get active feedback from your consumers, and then you can start to innovate your business much faster. So that's the key focus for us, is that innovation and getting feedback loops.
Gotcha. So that's innovation on the product side.
Yep.
Innovation on the media side. So when you, and I'm sure, and even in this room, you've got people chomping at the bit to spend some time with you and, you know, get your ear. What are the considerations that you think about when you're making those testing decisions, when you're thinking about new areas for deployment or development?
Yeah, we face the same battle that you guys do. I mean, it's really about attribution and understanding. There's a phrase a term that they used back in the older days in advertising is like 50% of your advertising is super efficient. You just don't know which 50%. I mean, that was back in the magazine advertising days they were talking about. It's still the same today, where you're just not quite sure on how to put the pieces of the puzzle together, whether your top of funnel campaigns are driving that bottom funnel, or are the bottom funnel operating in an efficient manner without the top of funnel support. So whether that's now with OTT or other opportunities, I think the good news is, especially in OTT, the data component is much better than it was a year and a half ago. So you're starting to connect those dots a little bit more clearly. There's always going to be an art and science in what we do. Always. So you don't want to over science, and you certainly can't over art, so it's finding that right balance. But there are abilities now to connect the dots, especially with top of funnel advertising, to see what the impact is. And we're just bringing on a new company with our attribution called Measured, and we're going to be doing a lot more experiments and testing controls to determine, so in certain time periods, pull back on certain spend in certain channels and see specifically how other channels react to that. So I think through experimentation and through some better tools and technologies that are piecing together the data, you're going to start to find a better assessment of your media spend.
Oh, you're speaking my language. I love it. So
A plethora
yes,
of data.
A plethora of attribution data. So yeah, that's really exciting, and certainly in line with the conversations that we've been having here and throughout the year. For me, I'm always curious. Because especially at these Brand Innovators events, I think the value of these events that I hear from marketers is, I knew I was dealing with that shit. I had no idea everybody was dealing with it. Right. So what are the things that right now that are challenging you? What are the things that are keeping you up at night? Yeah,
I mean, certainly small things that you guys probably aren't looking at, like wars and famine and pandemics and those small things that are bothering the people. So inflation, obviously, fears of recession, all these macro environmental issues are really the things that keep you up, because you don't know what's going to happen. So the way we're sort of approaching, or the way I'm approaching it, is one, you have to build flexibility in your organization. So you saw with the pandemic, you had companies that had to take major pivots. Hopefully that doesn't happen so often. But you still are going to have to make minor pivots. And I came from a startup world as well. You could have a different business model, different business plan every 6 months until something sticks. In larger organizations, you might not be that flexible, but you need to have flexibility built in. And one of the ways to do that, too, is to push leadership in all levels of the organization. The thing is that looking to the corner office for guidance doesn't exist anymore. Your leadership has to come through all levels of your organization, and you need to identify and reward those leaders, because they're the ones that are going to help you make those pivots as you adjust to these macroeconomic issues. And then the last thing, I'll beat the dead horse and say that feedback loop I was talking about, things like recession and other macro environmental concerns that are hitting your customers hit them in different ways. So you kind of need that feedback loop to understand what that means. For us, for instance, over the holiday, I knew that our customers were going to pull back on the number of gifts that they buy, but they were not pulling back on the level of spend they would have on those gifts, because if they're going to buy fewer gifts, they wanted the quality to be higher. But I wouldn't know that, and I would be guessing if I'm saying, how's the recession hitting my holiday customer, without that feedback loop. So just be more flexible, encourage leadership in your organization, and get that feedback loop from the customer to see how it's impacting them.
Great answer to that. So when you talk about flexibility within an organization, rewarding those people that are really going to help build the business, cultivating talent is obviously a big theme.
Huge.
So, when you look out to fill out your team, when you look to build that culture of giving, what are the characteristics that you're looking for when you build out your team?
Yeah, I think one of the lower things that I look for is actually experience. Experience is good, but it's not the main factor. I need to see energy. I need to see enthusiasm. I need to see the ability to lead and to connect people. Because again, when I talk about relationships, it's in our work environment too. Younger people specifically are feeling more disconnected from organizations now than they ever have been. So you need leadership, again, throughout all levels to make that connection happen. And it's so much harder now because, again, we looked around the room and most people 3 days a week in the office, 2 days a week in the office. So you have this virtual world where you can start to feel lonely and disconnected. Not only lonely from your personal life, which again is something unfortunately that's happening a lot in our society, but also disconnected and lonely from your coworkers. So you need to look at a different type of leader and a different type of person in your organization to make sure that that connection maintains. Because people who are connected and motivated understand where you want to go from your strategy. They're going to work harder. They're going to be more, easy to work with and just better long term from a career perspective, and it's going to make your organization excel.
That loneliness is a real thing,
Yep.
and I would encourage all of you to buy cookies for your coworkers after this session.
Yeah, exactly. Cheryl's Cookies helps with, yeah, exactly.
So I've got a two-part question, and then we're going to open it up to the crowd, so prepare your questions. The first question is, what is the coolest, what is the most up-and-coming, what is the wow factor gift that you guys offer that everybody in this room needs to know about so that we're the heroes to the people we send it to?
Wow, so I will get yelled at no matter what I say at this point, so thank you for saying that. I think we have the opportunity to give the wow gift, no matter what that is, and for that unique person that would wow them, because not everybody's the same. But we did have one product that I thought was super interesting in our marketplace. It was the Betty White bouquet. So it was flowers mixed with different pictures of Betty White.
That's amazing.
That was definitely a wow gift that I don't think everybody would appreciate, but it was definitely an eye opener that we were selling so many.
Whoever
of those
doesn't
gifts.
appreciate Betty White,
yeah, that
have
is
them
true.
talk to me.
That is true. That is true.
As long as nobody's sending me a glitter bomb, we're good.
Yeah.
And then the next question is, what is the absolute best-selling bread and butter product that is just flying off the shelves?
Yeah, Harry and David, I think I'll go there. I mean, flowers for sure. So Valentine's Day coming up, we're going to get roses. You're going to get all the staples. Harry and David, really known for its pears. So our Royal Riviera pears. So we have our own orchards in Oregon, where it's the only place in the country where they're grown. So they are only in season one time a year, and they fly off the shelves for the holiday. And I had a chance to go out into the orchards over the summer, and it is amazing the technology that goes behind just growing these things. Because again, macro environment, it hasn't rained there nearly to a point where it has in the past. So, how do you start to get the irrigation systems in place to help with that? The measurement, when do you pick them, the optimal ripeness, because you don't want them to ripe there. You want them to ripen at your mother's house or your friend's house or your house during the holidays. So they actually have new technology to measure the pressure under the skin to show when the optimal ripeness is. And then with the reduced, I know I'm geeking out on this, but with the reduced rain, they were actually smaller pears, so we had to put more pears in a box and rejigger the whole process of storage and packaging. So it's crazy the technology behind it. But if you haven't had those pears, sign up for them for next year. You already missed the boat, I apologize. But there are these things called honey bells that are also unique to that area that are on sale today if you want to go buy them.
We did have pears in our house. They
Good.
flew. The kids ate them.
Nice.
They loved them.
Nice.
So, all right, thank you. I want to open up to the crowd for any questions, please. Eloise, go for it. Here.
Name and where you're from, please.
Eloise, I work at Habu. So it sounds like, I'm going to say it, a plethora of first-party data for the gifter and the receiver. And personalization seems like a huge tenet for your marketing strategy. So
Yep.
if or how are you working with your media partners to ensure that there's personalization and that you're reaching the customer in their journey?
Yeah, it's a great question. I guess the answer is closely. We basically are using our systems right now for an entire CRM process and trying to layer on a CDP. So there's a lot of technologies out there, but our CDP kind of flowing into our CRM system and then speaking to our media partners at the right time with the right messaging with all of that data. So it's really about the output of that data through the different channels and through the different partners at the right time. And again, obviously from an efficiency standpoint, you don't want to be sending it to an outside media partner when you're internally communicating via email or through other more efficient means. So it's trying to find that optimal fall off or reactivation point, or certain holidays, or if they had bought Riviera pears last year, they haven't purchased it yet, what's the time frame to activate that sort of retargeting campaign and working with the partners to personalize that. So it's a long answer, and I can definitely speak to more after, but it's all about the data and how that data is being passed to these partners to act on.
Awesome. Great. Do you have a quick one? Is that what you were doing?
Actually, you have a question?
I have a 6-part question. No, no.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
What's going on?
Ronnie Dangerfield, back to
Okay,
school.
I'm Ryan, and I'm with Skydio. So I was pretty curious. So regarding your goals to connect with your consumers on a deeper level, I'm wondering, are there any gifts or rewards that you offer to your loyal and reoccurring customers to make them feel like their loyalty is being rewarded? And if not, do you have plans to do so?
Yeah, definitely. So we have a loyalty program called Celebrations Passport. So you'll see celebrations built into our ecosystem and intertwined. It's not necessarily a brand, but it's a quasi-brand that's intertwined. So Celebrations Pulse is our podcast that Jim has. That's really good if you guys want to check it out. Celebrations Passport is our loyalty program. So for $19.99, you will get free shipping across our entire enterprise all year long from gift-giving standpoint. And you can start to accumulate points from doing a lot of different actions. And it could be reading content articles. It could be posting back to the community, sharing stories. Like, we really want to share stories with our consumers. And some of the stories that we get are just so amazing. You can't make that up, and it's worth more than anything you're paying for. So you get points for contributing to the community, as well as making gifts and other things. So we do have that. It's going to be a big focus moving forward. To your earlier point, how do you make sure you're connecting and growing with your customers? That loyalty program, I think, is going to be key. So sign up for it.
Less of a question, just more of a thank you. So your hero product is actually your dog bouquets.
Nice. Very nice.
That cover store.
Oh.
And one of my best friends sent me your little fluffy white bouquet, and it was hero.
Oh, that's great. That is great to hear.
For the innovation there.
Yeah, no problem. Definitely. Yeah, our doggable bouquet. Yeah, it's definitely it's great. It's very popular, and we've been looking to partner with some because the relationships with pets. So again, we're all about relationships, and we go through our sort of ecosystem on who does our customer have from a relationship standpoint. Pets is really high on the list. I mean, they're part of the family. So we offer that from a pet sympathy to like I said, the dog bouquet and other products. So yeah, definitely thank you for mentioning that. I appreciate it. And I apologize for your miss. Yeah,
Hey,
for your loss. Yeah.
Jason, one last thing.
Yes,
My
sir.
wife says many times I'm dead inside, so thank you to your content writers.
Yeah, no problem. we're here for you. Definitely.
Right. And Todd, maybe next time you try to put a pet on the pillow, it might go better. Granted, little do we know they altered the photo, so it was actually a wonderful photo when you submitted it, but they knew what they were doing. Hey, thank you so very much. Let's hear it for these two. A wonderful job.